As we told you earlier, a Digital Industry Singapore office has been set up, and it's to foster greater cooperation between the government and the private sector in the digital economy.
One of the agencies involved is the Economic Development Board, and here to tell us more is the Assistant Managing Director of the EDB, Kiren Kumar. Kiren, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me.
So this is exciting times, isn't it?
It is exciting times. I think digitization is transforming how countries, cities, governments, industries, enterprises, and jobs are being transformed at a rapid pace. So I mean, we have a mission and a vision in Singapore. How do we make Singapore the undisputed technology hub in Asia, where new products, new services, new business models, and new partnerships are fostered to really look at addressing this opportunity and growth that we're seeing in Asia. So it's really exciting times.
So Kiren, we know that consumer tech, enterprise tech, these two segments were specifically chosen. Can you tell us more about why and what kind of businesses will DISG be interacting with?
So we'll focus on the technology sector. And if you look at the opportunity in the digital economy, just in Asia, it's a $1 trillion opportunity by 2025. And if you unpack that, there are really two categories of growth drivers. One is really on the consumer side with the rising middle class and the rise of Asia. Some estimates have it that this is going to be worth $240 billion in the next 3 years. And we're focusing on areas where Singapore can play to win to service these needs in Asia. Some of the areas we're focusing on include e-commerce, fintech, new media, and digital services like ride-hailing. The other category that we believe is going to be a huge driver of growth above and beyond what we're seeing in the consumer side is the enterprise space. Every enterprise from the banking sector to the manufacturing sector to many other sectors, they're transforming themselves in how they do business. And we believe there are pockets of capabilities that Singapore can build in our companies in the technology sector that can solve for that. Singapore has been successful in anchoring more than 200 digital centers of excellence from global multinationals operating out of Singapore for their global needs. And this will service as a lead demand for many technology companies in AI, in cybersecurity, in cloud computing, and in payment infrastructure. So we think these are the focus areas where Singapore can play to win, given our environment. And I think that's where our focus will be.
All right, and it's going to require a lot of people, a lot of hands and feet. 10,000 jobs is the number that's been spoken of. What sort of jobs are we expecting them to be?
So I think it's an exciting time. But before I go to the jobs, we have realized that in order to work with the technology sector, where a lot of innovations are happening at a confluence of business models, technology, and policy, we have recognized that the Singapore government needs to transform the way we work with the technology sector and the enterprises. So we have decided to concentrate our collective capabilities across 3 organizations that you mentioned earlier in industry development, capability development, enterprise development, and policy formulation to ensure that we work with the large technology giants of the world like Google, Facebook, Alibaba, who are investing in Singapore for Asia, but also working with the unicorns that are emerging in Southeast Asia from Singapore, like Grab, like Lazada, like the C Group, and also fast-growing tech companies that we will work with. So these are the archetype of companies we will work with in order to create the 10,000 jobs. But the second important point here is that we hope to co-create in public-private partnership in new policy areas that need to be innovated on as well in the area of AI governance, data flows, in talent development, and also in trade. What does trade mean in the digital economy? So we'll play an important role to co-create with our stakeholders in government and the private sector to actually drive this growth for the long term for Singapore.
We often talk about building an ecosystem, but it really is the architecture of those partnerships and how they work together that's going to be important here. Steve, you were asking about the number of jobs that are going to be made, but
the type of jobs.
The kind of jobs. What will they be like, and do we have? I mean, how do we train these kind of?
So I think, given the pipeline that we see over the next couple of years, we are quite confident that we'll be able to anchor through the partnerships and investments in Singapore 10,000 frontier jobs. And let me unpack that for you. We see jobs in 3 different categories. It's not just technology jobs. There'll be technology jobs in areas of AI, machine learning, data science, cybersecurity, and cloud. But you will also have creative jobs, designers who understand user journeys, who can do user experience and user interactive design, and develop new products and services, the creatives. And lastly, business talent, people who can help businesses grow and scale, managerial talent, finance, HR, product managers, and people who can help companies internationalize their business. So we're going to see a portfolio and a range of jobs in 3 different archetypes that I mentioned, in large companies, in unicorns, and in fast-growing companies in Singapore. So it's an exciting time.
It certainly is. And do you have like some milestones that you have in your mind as how this is going to get rolled out? I mean, this is just the start of having an office, but tell us a bit about, what's in store 6 months, 18 months from now.
Yes, so I think we have been in stealth mode in the last 6 months. We are also a startup in the government. We have big ambitions, but we are starting small. We are working on building relationships with our companies and also making sure that we are creating opportunities to train the talent. So in order for us to hit a 10,000 jobs number and filling them in Singapore, we think creating those opportunities for Singaporeans and skilling them is going to be one of the core focus areas for us. We are working with IMDA and the Tech Skills Accelerator. We have already trained 10,000 Singaporeans in tech skills. We are working with the Skills Future movement, with SSG and WSG, to train Singaporeans in many of the skills that I mentioned. And lastly, where we will drive these efforts is working with these companies to create on-the-job training opportunities for Singaporeans. And let me just end off by saying that it's an exciting time because if you are a Singaporean coming out of our polytechnics and universities, there are opportunities for you in the tech sector. If you're a Singaporean who has been working in the technology sector for many years, you can upskill yourself and have a career runway that's going to be a lot better for your career capital as well. And lastly, you're going to see Singaporeans who are working in a different sector upskill themselves, reskill themselves, and move into the tech sector. And we're already starting to see proof points of that. And lastly, this gives us an opportunity to bring back some of the best and brightest Singaporeans who are in Silicon Valley, New York, London, Shanghai, back to Singapore to participate in Southeast Asia's growth. Yeah,
it certainly does sound like an exciting time ahead. Thanks so much for coming in and sharing with us the vision of it all. Kiren Kumar, Assistant Managing Director at the Economic Development Board.
Thank you so much.